point.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we think about, again, kind of how we define rationality,
Yeah.
so in a neoclassical sense, again, for people who've had like an economics course, this is the way that you were like most likely taught, is that you have actors who are rational, meaning they have a fixed and known utility function.
Yeah.
And our models assume that actors are working to maximize their utility. Another word for utility would be happiness or satisfaction.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, if that's the position of rationality that you take,
Yeah.
then if you look at this behavioral economics literature, which looks at, again, kind of places where people are not strictly rational in that neoclassical sense. So they highlight a variety of different cognitive biases that then look like, oh, it's quote unquote irrational behavior.
Yes.
Now, that presents a really big problem with the context of that first that definition of rationality as we are economic actors who are looking to maximize math equation.
Yeah.
But that doesn't present the same challenge to the Austrian tradition
Yeah.
for the reason that you just mentioned is that the Austrian conceptualization of rationality is not one of maximizing utility functions, but
Yes.
instead of is one of human action, what Mises or what people often in the scholarship will refer to, and this is from Mises, praxeology, or
Yes.
again, the science of human action.
Yeah.
So I mentioned a few minutes ago thinking about things within a means ends framework. And
Mm.
so thinking about rationality from that perspective, in
Yeah.
which I, as an economic actor, am undertaking actions to achieve a
Yeah.
particular goal. Now, that certainly does not mean that people are, lightning rods of pleasure and pain. It doesn't mean that people can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I might think that an action is helping me achieve my goal, but it may not be. That doesn't mean that I'm irrational in the Austrian context. So while behavioral economics
Yeah.
may identify or maybe presents a challenge to neoclassical economics, it doesn't really present the same challenges to the Austrian conceptualization. And I always feel like I'm remiss if I don't at least mention when we talk about behavioral economics that they're having their own massive replication crisis. And so I think that to the extent that their
Yeah.
framework, I think it presents definitely a challenge to the neoclassical framework, but I'm not sure if it's as strong as its proponents claim that it is.
Yeah. And as far as the issue of acting irrationality, you saw this explicitly playing out in the great financial crisis, where greed or irrationality was, or rather, greed
Mhm.
was being labeled as the cause of the crisis. But I learned this, professor, by reading William Barnett's book, which is Getting It Wrong: How Faulty Monetary Statistics Undermine the Fed Financial System and the Economy, where he makes this point precisely. He was saying that the actors are responding sensibly to distorted institutional signals and incomplete information. And here, what was being distorted was the monetary aggregates were being measured via the simple sum way, which is a flawed way of measuring monetary aggregates.
Mhm.
So, yes, Professor. And then we come now, Professor, to your paper, which is the ratchet effect. You're written with Professor Christopher Coyne,
Mhm.
that paper. And uh, so you say that uh, whenever a crisis occurs, the government powers, expand after the crisis, and it's very difficult for the government to go back to, its level after the crisis has occurred. So government permanently acquires a larger share of the economy. Yeah,
Mhm.
Professor. I'd like you to talk on this. Yeah.
Right.